Hello! This is the first in a series of lessons designed to teach you how to program using the Prograph visual programming language. Now, Prograph is a language that is supported currently by the Marten development environment, and that development environment can be obtained from the Andescotia website. That's www.andescotia, ANDESCOTIA.com. And currently it's available for free, so I urge you to go there and download the latest version of Marten. I've already done that, and it's sitting here as a disk image in the top level of my system, which is not necessarily where I would put these things, but it's the cleanest place I have. My desktop is a mess. So this lesson is designed to do two things: teach you how to install Marten and show you how to create a very simple application, Hello World, using Prograph. Let's get started. Double click the disk image that you've downloaded off the Andescotia website. You'll see it contains 5 items. 2 of these I would just ignore. The IDE contains the Marten application plus several example folders and support code. This should just be placed anywhere convenient. I'm going to place it here at the top level, which is not where I would necessarily recommend it, but like I say, it's the most uncluttered spot on my whole computer. The other 2 folders contain material that needs to be placed in your library folder at your top level. So once this finishes, I'm going to double click my library folder. We see there's the framework subfolder, and this does not probably exist on your system, but you need to make a Marten subfolder of your library folder at your top level. So let me bring back the disk image. Everything in the frameworks folder should be dragged and placed into the frameworks subfolder of your library folder. Yep, put everything in there. And the same thing should be done with the contents of library/Marten. All of these should be placed into your Marten subfolder of your library folder. Now I'm not going to do that because I think I've got some things in there I don't want overwritten, but that's where they go. Select them, place them in the Marten subfolder of your library folder. And once you've done that, you have installed Marten. Now, if you have Marten installed, you're ready to create an application or two. I'm going to show you how to create Hello World, a simple application that'll present the words Hello World in a window, and then once you close that window, the application will quit. I'm going to kind of keep things a little organized here, create a new folder called Marten Projects. Again, you could do this anywhere. And I'm going to create a subfolder called, I think Hello World will do it. Well, maybe Hello World Application. There we go. Or Hello World Project. Let's open it up. Nothing in there now. Let's get started creating an application. Open up the Marten IDE folder and you'll see the Marten application. If you double click it, Marten will launch. You've got nothing going on at the start, so let's create a new project. Marten is an unusual development environment in that the very first thing you will create when you create a new project is actually your running application. We'll see that in action right now, but I'm just giving you a heads up. Be ready for it. We select New Project and it immediately says, where do you want to put the interpreter application? And this will turn out to be your running applications, which we'll call Hello. So think of a good name right off the bat. We'll put it in Marten Projects Hello World Application. And there it is. Then Marten will create an actual project file. I'm not going to call it hello. That would be perhaps a little confusing, so I'm going to call it hello project. And I'm going to do a Command S to save it, and it's going to hunt around for a good place to save that file. Takes a while. It's very robust. It always checks every time for a good place to put it. It eventually finds the hello application we created. So I'll click Save. And just to demonstrate that that application is up and running, if we go over here in the dock, we'll see Marten is running and the application we want to create is already up and running. Now, there are three icons here indicating three different categories of items that are placed in a project. The one on the left represents libraries. We don't have any. The one in the middle represents sections. Sections are source code files for Marten and Prograph. And the one on the right are resource files. We don't have any images or anything of that nature. But let's create some section files, just one. Now I can select new section, I could do a Command N, or as is common in this development environment, if you hold down the Command key, which I've got, even though you can't see it, with the Command key held down and a click, something new will always be created. I'm going to call this Hello World Workspace, which is workspace, which is kind of a common way to get started in Prograph, creating a workspace section. Again, when I go to save it, it's going to hunt around for a convenient location. It will eventually settle on the default one. There we go. Now I'm going to do another Command S to save my project. Prograph is an unusual language in that it does not have any pre-built operations. No plus, no minus. Those have to be added, and those are added in the form of libraries, which have the actual concrete form of frameworks. And you saw that we placed a bunch of frameworks in your framework subfolder of your library folder. Well, we want to go add some to the project so that we can do something. And I've already been there. I've got it selected, frameworks of library. Now look at all these Marten frameworks. You would be a little confused as to which one would be appropriate to add, and I'll just set you straight. You're going to want to add the standard framework, and you're going to want to add somewhat not intuitively the UI Aqua framework. So they've been added. I'll do a Command S to save them. If I double click, I can see the list of all the operations that the standard library lets me do. Things like plus and minus. If I double click the UI Aqua, again we can see all of the things that it's now going to let me do, and these look very kind of advanced. They're not plus and minus. Create object file, create text file, and so on. The one we're going to need in this program is called show. And in fact, I'll just stick it off to the side here. Okay, let's make a program. I've got a section file of my project. If I double click the center icon, it allows me to create an actual bit of code. Code is contained in cases, which are contained in methods. There are universal methods and class methods. We're just going to create a universal method right now. This will probably not make much sense, and the next lesson will explain in much more detail what's going on, but we just want to get an application up and running. Holding down the Command key and clicking creates a new method. I'm going to call this one Hello World. If I double click it, we can see we're finally to the point where we do something visual. What you see here are operations, iconic representations of things that are going to be executed when code runs. Again, if I hold down the command key and click, I always create something new. And I have created a new operation that will be executed as code in this diagram. And we need the words hello world. I'm going to type them in. Now, what I have created, put this off to the side, is a constant operation. This operation, when executed, will generate a piece of data that represents the text hello world. I want to show that to the world. You can see what I'm going to do now. I'll drag show over here, kind of line it up, and you can see things just beg to be connected. This little bubble is called a root, and this little bubble at the top of an operation is called a terminal, and we just want to connect those up. It's a little obscure how to do that. What you need to do is hold down the option key, and if you keep the option key held down and then click on a root or terminal, I'm going to click on a root here, you will see as I pull away that I create a connecting line. And if I get this thing close to the terminal, it'll jump to it, turn red, and if I click again, the connection is created. So we have now created a bit of working code. Let's see it in action. You can run any piece of code at any time, and in fact you can debug any piece of code at any time, and that's what we're going to do right now. So the debugger is up and running. I'm going to hit the return key to step through the various operations. The first hit of the return key executes the input bar. Nothing much happens there. The second hit or click of the return key executes the hello world constant operation, which generates a piece of data, hello world. The next click is going to execute the show primitive, which puts the words hello world up on the screen. Click OK and close, and finally one more click will get the output bar executed and the method will exit. Well, we have working code. Let's turn it into an application. Now, to run an application, you need a main method. If I were to select this, it would say no main. Do I want to create it? No. Can't run anything. It needs a little bit of help to decide where do you want me to go to start this application up. If I select Hello World and bring up a contextual menu by hitting the right mouse button, I will see a list of things that I can do, including install main. Now, that's a very special method. You can only have one in any project, and that is the starting point for your application. It has an input bubble, which brings in some data we don't concern ourselves with. It has an output terminal. We'll send the number 0 out, and we're good to go. Let's try it out. Run application. Hello world. Works just as we thought. By the way, let's notice the menu up there. And to create a running application that you can send to your grandma, we just go up here and select, perhaps non-intuitively, the update command. The chimes mean that it's been baked. We're ready to go. Let's quit. Let's open up our projects folder, open up the Hello World application, and if I double click hello, well, hello world. So that concludes lesson 0, the installation and the first creation of a running application using Prograph. Look for other lessons soon.